Hello, everybody. This is Chris Adams. Thank you for listening to The Middle. First of all, I want to say this is going to be another unique episode. I don't have a guest I interviewed right now, so I'm just going to release an old interview that myself and Jerry Brandt did a long time ago on our old show, Drinking Buddies. That was a show where we just kind of joked around about political topics, current events, anything in the news. It was a precursor to this show that you're hearing now. But we had a lot of great guests back in the day. Our first guest ever, for the first show we ever did, was Adam Carolla. Eventually we got Harlan Williams, Mark Maron. We got Kevin Hart a couple of times. We met Kevin Hart. It was very cool. So Bill Burr. We used to interview a lot of great comedians because it was a show where we would talk to comedians. We'd talk about comedy, but we'd also talk about just everyday life. And it was a show that we did for 2 years at Long Beach State, and I was so grateful for the opportunity. I managed to just get it through a friend of mine, and we ran with it. And we were, one of the more successful shows at the station, and we were happy to do it. And I'm happy to have found some of the old files, and I'm going to try and share more if I find them. Some of them are lost to history, unfortunately, so it's kind of a bummer there. But yeah, I am going to also try to interview some of those bigger name comics for this show eventually as well. I'm working my way up to that, but I just want to start with an old interview I did with Tommy Chong. Tommy Chong is someone that was a huge influence on my comedy coming up. I remember when I was 13 or in middle school and before high school, I'd sleep over at my buddy's house. We'd always listen to comedy records, and it was usually Cheech and Chong records. And, oh, man, I got so much out of those. So for me, interviewing Tommy Chong was a huge, huge deal and made my day immensely that day. We got to actually hang out with him backstage. And, it's funny because I've had a lot of luck in this comedy career. I didn't know how it happened. I'm just some poor kid that came from nothing. But I managed to, one of my first editing jobs was editing behind-the-scenes footage for Chris Rock because one of my friends works for him, still does actually. I'll probably get him on the show coming up. But anyway, he writes for Chris Rock and worked on his TV show and everything. And so I got to edit behind-the-scenes footage with Chris Rock, so that was a huge deal. And then from there, I went to work with Jim Jeffries and Eddie Ifft on their Talking Shit podcast. I don't know if any of you are fans of that, but I was Chris the Mute. I was a character that was on sometimes. And I'm actually I just got a job this weekend where I'll be working for Eddie F. full-time on his new show, the Bungle Bus, or whatever it's called. I got to look at it. I should probably know that. But I'm about to go work for him full-time, and Eddie's another great dude. He's hilarious. He's a kind-hearted person, at least towards me. Sometimes a dick, but that's how guys are. And so I'm excited about. I'm probably going to be on the road soon with him. So things are looking up. I've had a rough few years here, but that's how entertainment goes. Sometimes you feel like you're in the bottom, and then out of nowhere, something good will happen. So in honor of this weekend, where I'm finally back to performing comedy regularly and getting paid for it, I am excited. And so here is the Tommy Chong interview.
This is actually our 100th episode, which is why I was really excited to have you on, because we wanted to get, obviously you're a legend. I grew up watching your movies with Cheech, and I've grown up watching you throughout your career. It's a beautiful career that's touched a lot of lives. I remember watching, I can't tell you which movie because I don't remember, but the wrestling bit that you guys did.
Still Smoking.
Yeah, Still Smoking. And you're grabbing the Invisible Man's balls, and you're grabbing over your shoulder. Oh, man.
Itchy Scratchy.
Yeah, dude.
And Bruno Hakalugi.
Watching that with all my friends, man, and just fucking cracking up. And I was a kid. I didn't smoke pot, but it was still hilarious. And then, as I got older, you started doing that 70s show, and I'd watch you on that show all the time. And it's just, it's a real honor. I gotta say that first.
Well, thank you. The thing in Cheech and I, we were always kids,
Yeah.
If you can make a kid laugh,
yeah,
uncontrollably, you've done your job.
Do you think it's harder to make a kid laugh or harder to make an adult laugh?
Well, kids laugh at stupid things.
Right. And adults.
You don't have to get politically correct to make a kid laugh.
Right.
And that's, they would laugh. at our dope jokes and not understanding why they were laughing.
Right.
And that was funny too.
You've been back with Cheech now for a couple of years, and how is it being back? I mean, after
hell. Oh, it's just hell. Trying to get a rich Mexican to do anything possible.
You guys are still touring. You got some shows coming up still here.
Yeah, when the money's right. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
other than that, he won't budge out of his mansion. I say, mention benefit. He goes, no, I'm busy. Tell him we got money waiting for him. He's right there.
Oh, he's right. It shows up right away.
Nah, he's okay.
Right on, man.
He got married. He's got a new wife, you know. So
Yeah.
so he's busy. He's working day and night.
Well, and you're here with your beautiful wife, and she's doing shows with you and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm smart.
Yeah.
I get my old lady working.
Well, Cheech has his wife in the show now too. His
Oh,
show when he works sometimes. Yeah.
Come on over
She's-
here. You can share the mic with me.
She's a classical musician.
Oh, right
and
on.
they do I don't know, some kind of funny shows together. And
Well, he belongs to a private golf course, and and you know it was a freebie, but they expect him to entertain now and then, you know, to earn his freebie.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so him and his Natasha, they do a little
I think he Cheech sings some
Sinatra songs.
Oh, I thought he sang the songs from the movies. Yeah, he does. He does.
I don't know. I really don't care.
So that's that.
Right on. And I gotta ask, you talk about in your act the difference between legalizing and decriminalizing. You kind of say that I prefer to decriminalize it.
I do.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to happen if they can't legalize it without decriminalizing it.
But if it could go either way, would you prefer it be legalized completely, or
Well, once they legalize it, then it's decriminalized
Right.
automatically.
Yeah.
right?
But what they can do, they can decriminalize it, and then let states decide what they want to do.
Right.
Like if Mississippi wants to be dry, like they do with booze,
Yeah.
you know, then no pot allowed here. You know, which will still keep the price up. You see, the problem I have with legalization is big companies coming in and monopolizing.
I see.
And
Any
then,
corporation
and
is
then
gonna come
controlling,
in.
and then putting shit in it and controlling it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like they did with cigarettes. See, tobacco by itself, what the natives smoked, wasn't addicting.
Right.
What they did, they put stuff in the tobacco that made it addicting.
Right. To sell the
And
product.
that, other than that, you wouldn't be buying the shit that the natives were smoking. You know, it was too strong.
Right.
See, that's why they call it a peace pipe, because they would take a hit of this, you know, this mixture of tobacco and herbs and that, and it would knock you on your ass.
Little lions here and there.
Yeah, no, so you couldn't fight.
Right.
And so what they would do before they would talk, they would all smoke the peace pipe, and they all get knocked knocked back down. You know, that's why they sat, you know, in a circle,
Yeah.
and they passed the pipe, so there wouldn't be any violence.
Right.
And that was the beginning of it, and then it became very symbolic.
Right.
You know, and then the tobacco companies come over and they put this shit in it to make it just like the food companies do with food.
Yeah.
You know, they
Your
put
typical
glucose,
hamburger.
sugar in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, they mess it up.
Right.
If you were eating healthy, like I have to eat now, it's not. There's no additives.
No.
And so that's what I worry about pot. I'd rather have individual people grow their own strain, like they're doing,
Right.
and leave it at that.
Now, what's your opinion of like the dispensaries and stuff like that? Do you think
Of
they're
what?
like the medical dispensaries and such like that? Do you think they're okay, or do you worry
Yeah,
about them?
Of course, they're
Okay.
great.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
great. I mean, I love the way they're working. You know.
Yeah.
And people say, how about taxes? And well, you tax them when you buy a business license.
Yeah.
That's a tax.
Yeah.
And
that's
if you
true.
sell and you on your books you sold so many, you pay your business tax.
Right.
That's all the tax you need.
Okay.
You don't need anything else. You
Yeah,
know?
that's fair. I agree
I
with
mean, we had the system going along, and we're good as long as you're white. You're okay. You know, you get a slap on the wrist or something. If you're black or Mexican, you might go to jail for 20 years. You know,
Yeah.
in some states. But anyway. That's the way I look at it. You know?
Well, and I mean, like I've seen you wearing the free mark shirts, and I mean that's cases where they'll go after somebody who's not even fucking from America. And
In Canada.
Yeah, he's from Canada, and
I mean,
because-
you can't get a spy out of places.
right.
You know, you can't get the wiki. What's the name? The wiki.
WikiLeaks guy. Julia
Assange.
Yeah,
Salon.
yeah. I mean, but you can go. The DEA can go into Canada,
Right.
and yard his ass out of there.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think we have such a negative attitude towards drugs in this country?
You mean why the government does?
Well, why? I mean, even people. These laws are in place too because a lot of Americans are still very close-minded.
It's called propaganda.
Right.
It's called lies. See, when they want to go to war with somebody, they put out lies.
Right.
They demonize. You see, hemp was, when they called it hemp, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was clothes and food and everything else, birdseed.
Yeah.
But the minute they called it marijuana,
Right.
they demonized it with the racial slur.
Yeah.
See, because right away now it's a Mexican thing, just like they did with the opium, with the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Chinese and their opium
ruin
eaters, you know.
Yeah.
And, oh, you're going to get high and want to, fuck your neighbor,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Meanwhile, drink this beer that's American made and does
Alcohol.
nothing for you and will destroy your life way quicker than
Yeah.
any drug that is illegal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a sad.
And not only that, but alcohol will not only destroy your life, but it'll make you fight for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you punch a brick wall if you're drunk enough.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's so stupid.
If you get
Punched
mad.
a friend.
But if you're high on pot, you might lean against it,
Yeah, you might discover that everybody is worth loving, and then you won't want to go to war, and
That's
then what's
right.
going to happen? You
You
know?
make a lousy soldier.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's why it's
what they
illegal.
did.
Yeah.
That's why they did with alcohol in both wars. It was mandatory that every sailor got a shot of rum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was mandatory, And on the front lines and that, you got R&R, but you went to the bars,
Right. They gave you cigarettes in your rations and such too.
Oh,
back
sure.
then. Yeah.
Yeah. The dying guy, give him a cigarette.
Right.
Light a cigarette, put it in his mouth. He's dying of a lung wound.
Right. And meanwhile, you're trying to sell glass pipes, and they're taking you away to jail for you're not even selling the product. I mean, you got
It's all political,
Yeah.
and I feel very honored to be in in that company of political prisoners.
right.
Because it revived my career, really, and it defined me,
Yeah.
and I love that. I mean, that's why I can,
Well, I think what was beautiful about it to me when I read the stories and stuff was you really went to prison out of love.
Yeah.
I mean, more than anything, because they were threatening your wife, they're threatening
That's
your
right.
son, and you said, "No, just here, I'll cop a plea,
That's right.
leave my wife and son alone."
You want me, you got me,
Yeah.
Because
that's-
what are they going to do? 9 months,
Yeah.
Like the old con used to say, I can do that standing on my head. And then the judge says, well then, I'll give you another 2 years and it'll give you time to get back on your feet.
Yeah. No, I mean you've had such a, like I said, you've had such an amazing career. You started out, you mentioned on your act, you started out in a band, you were doing music, you had number one hits, you were touring, you discovered the Jackson 5, then you started doing acting and improv. You and Cheech start off. And at what point, when you first met and started working with Cheech, at what point did you say, "Man, we got something here"? When did you know?
Actually, Cheech and we were in an improv group, and the improv, it was with Topless Girls and that, and it was a lot of fun. And then it broke up, and then Cheech and I were the only ones that had nothing else to do.
Right.
And we looked at each other and said, well, let's form a band. We formed a band first.
Okay.
And then, but we went to play our first gig, and I said, well, we'll do some comedy first. And the people all sat down and watched us do comedy. And I couldn't get around to playing music. I could not break that spell. We had a roll going,
Yeah.
and it would have been such a drop off,
Right.
And
It's
so
hard to change between the two.
So we never. Now I can do it.
Yeah.
But back then I could not stop because we were so. And after that night after the Battle of the Bands, and we won it without playing a note. We named ourselves Cheech and Chong.
Nice.
The first time I ever heard that his name was Cheech was Richard and Tommy, Marin and Chong. I said, "Do you have a nickname?" He said, "Cheech." I said, Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, man, and it worked perfect. And the legends are born. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing, man. What's your favorite memory of that time? Like, what is there a certain bit that you guys used to do that you just go, "Man, I love that bit"? Or
I think the dogs
Yeah, I remember that. You guys walking up, sniffing each other's butts, man. And their legs. And...
I used to come up to L.A. every once in a while. I had family here in L.A. and I would fly up from Vancouver. But I would go to the improv, the committee. Mm-hmm. There was a group called the Committee, and they did a version of the Dogs, and it was so funny, I couldn't believe it. And I had an improv group, and so I went right back and I showed the improv group the bit, and we started. We only did the bit. I think we only did it maybe once, twice.
Yeah,
it was incredible. It was so funny. And then when the improv group broke up, Cheech and I started doing the Dogs, just the two of us, and every time we do that bit, it would just either have people running out of the club or laughing their asses off. Literally falling out of the chair.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because the first time I saw it, I really fell off my chair. I was watching the committee, and it was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it was funny.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
Was that first moment that you got that laugh when you guys did your thing? I mean, was it addicting? Were you hooked at that point?
We were hooked long before that.
Okay.
I was hooked. As soon as I got on stage and found out I could make people laugh, I was hooked.
Did you do solo comedy before you and
I did with the improv group.
Okay.
There was just me and another partner, Dave.
Okay.
Dave Graham. Dave Graham and I, and then we had all the girls. We had a lot of people there, and we did it. And no, as soon as I found out I could make a living without having a guitar on my with a band, I said, "This is me. I'm here. I'm in."
Yeah. I'd say I do it because I could never learn to play guitar. So I was like, oh, how else can I get on stage and get the laughs and or get,
it's great.
Get the animation?
Stand up is great. Oh, yeah. You and a mic.
Yeah, it's very challenging. It's beautiful. It's I love it.
Minimalist.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're out there. So how long have you been doing it?
5 years now. So
yeah.
I started out in San Diego, moved to Tucson, and then I've been here in LA doing it for a while. So
good for you, man.
Yeah, man, it's fun.
You'll never stop.
No, I love it too much. I've always said, I don't care so much. I mean, obviously, I'd love to get the money and all that, but I don't care about that part. For me, the part is I just want to be the best comic I can be, and I love the doing it, making people laugh, seeing people smile, and going, I did that. I made that person's life better for, maybe 5-10 minutes, whatever.
Sure.
I love it.
And you got a chance to talk without being interrupted.
Yeah. Listen to me.
That to me, that's... And you got people listening to you.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Yeah. And I think what I loved about your act too is you take this a couple minutes, maybe it wasn't long, but you just took the time to say it's really about love.
Oh, yeah.
And you're using your act to say, you're making people laugh and you're having a good time, but you also have to make some very salient, important points that people need to hear.
I had an audience guy tell me, "Hey man, I love the truth bombs that you threw out there."
Nice, that's good. I like that.
I love that too. Because a lot of comedians they feel that they just gotta be on,
Yeah.
And there's very few that'll go off and Richard Pryor was one.
Right.
He'd go off every once in a while, and Lenny Bruce was another one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun. I mean, if you can do it,
Yeah. Are you a fan of comedy? I mean, do you listen to other comics still?
I not as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
But every chance I get, like if I got my son's truck, and he's got Sirius Radio, I'll turn on the Comedy Channel and listen to what's going on, Blue Collar.
Right. I used to listen to that. I used to drive. My last job before I moved out here was I was working for a medical company, and I'd drive around it was in Arizona, and I'd drive for hours all day, and I had Sirius in the car, and I'd listen to Raw Dog. And that was really when I started just loving comedy, and I was like, I got to get better at this. I got to do this more and all that.
Yeah, listen to him, and you learn rhythms and that.
Yeah.
I learned from Richard Pryor. He was performing in Vancouver, in Los Angeles, at a club called the Bitter End West, and he wasn't packing them in. He was in his sort of drug stage, not showing up on the. He would show up, but he was iffy. And so I saw how he worked an act up. He would start off with certain premises one night, then the next night he'd add to it or drop it and do it differently, and the next night it would be so. Then you see him building the act, and then he'd get it up to the point where he'd take one bit that was started maybe being 2 minutes, and it'd end up being 15 minutes.
Right. Because you just keep working at it.
Yeah, just work at it, just add a little bit, So I saw the craft.
Yeah.
I saw how you did it. Because that's how I learned music, too. I couldn't read music, so I'd listen and watch and learn. And when you learn how to play an instrument, or, in a band, there's certain rules, you got to hit, you got to be in tune, you got to know the changes and that. That. And you got to know timing, so it came hand in hand.
Right. It's kind of transferred over, that knowledge of rhythm and timing and stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, Peter Sellers, one of the greatest comedians ever, was a drummer.
I didn't know that.
At one time, he used to tour London as the greatest jazz drummer in the world. And that's how good he was.
Nice. I had no idea about that.
Incredible drummer. And he had a second career. And then that was his first career. And then he joined the Goons. And that was his second career. And then he became the Pink Panther. And that was his third movie career.
Right.
Phenomenal guy. And we were friends. He was a big fan.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big community back then? I mean, did you hang out with guys? I mean, you mentioned prior. I mean, did you guys...
Never hung out.
Okay.
We knew each other. We'd pass each other on the stage or something. No, I never hung up with Richard. Peter a little bit. Yeah, not much. He'd come over to the house. And he was a strange guy. He was weird. He gave me his number. I had his number, and I phoned him one time, and he pretended he was the butler. And he wouldn't break it.
Right. You're like,
and
come on, man.
Peter.
I know it's you. I know it's you.
Peter, come on, man. I'm sorry, Mr. Sellers is not in right now. May I take a message? Come on, man. I know it's you. I'm sorry. He wouldn't break character.
That's awesome.
He was weird. He was a weird guy.
Yeah.
Beautiful, though.
That's cool, man. Is there anybody that you wish you had to cross paths with over the years that you never got the chance to meet or talk to?
Not really. You just take what you get.
Yeah.
I was more in the music scene, than the comedy scene. I hung with Red Fox.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Here's another guy. I saw him to 2 hours one time, and first hour he brought the audience right up, and then at the end of that hour he brought the audience down so far that they were running out of the club. They were literally running out of the club. He got so down and dirty and so disgusting.
Right.
And he even went to the door and opened the door for him and said, "Good night, have a good time." Closed the door and went back on stage and brought the audience up.
He liked to dig those holes and bring himself back out.
Dig those holes and then bring himself up. And he was amazing.
Yeah.
Before he went on, he'd be at the bar smoking and drinking and talking and things. And now here's, you know how we have to sort of have our own alone time, try to get our thoughts together.
Right.
Not Red. He'd be at the bar drinking, talking. Okay, I'll be right with you. And then Red Fox, and he'd walk on stage, take the mic,
and just be on it.
Just go. He was probably the best, all around funniest guy I've ever seen in my life. I laugh so hard. Snot comes out of your nose. Yeah.
What is amazing about him is he was one of the last great party album comics where they would, and I mean,
He
you
was
guys
the
had
first.
that too I'm sorry, the first great, that's what I meant to say. And you guys had that too with you would produce your albums and there would be an event. People would take those albums, they'd have their parties. Like, yeah, come over, man, we got the new Red Fox, we got the new Cheech and Chong record. And I wish that there was something like that now. I think we're so distracted as a culture.
No, it's changed. Now we got this. We got the podcast.
Yeah, that's true, and that's starting to come up. But there was it.
And now you got people tweeting or posting bits. Like Louis C.K. is a good example.
Yeah.
He's a guy I really admire. I've met him a couple of times and seen his show and I love Louis C.K.
His TV show is amazing. I love watching that, and his act is every time I watch him, I go, man, I'm never going to be that good. Sure. You want to believe, but
that
it's
honest,
amazing.
see.
Yeah. Well,
it's to being that honest.
Yeah,
because that's what made Louis C.K. when he's talking about his wife and making love. And oh my God, I mean, he literally sacrificed his wife. She divorced him,
right?
Because she didn't want to be that part of that.
She didn't want to be that famous anymore.
Oh my God! But he is.
Yeah, and the honesty about that, the way he loves his kids, but sometimes they're just hard to deal with and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, that's great, it's beautiful. Because I have a daughter myself. I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old daughter. So
Yeah, I play. I'm playing. I don't know if you caught the little grandson thing I did tonight, but I played with that.
Yeah.
I played with that.
That's
and,
good.
And the other, last night I really had a good time with it. I went into that thing, you know, like playing with the retard golfers, you know.
Yeah.
And the last night I hit it. It was so good. I had everything in order, you know.
Right.
Tonight I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, man. Some nights it's the best, and then some nights it's just not as great, quite as great, but still good. You know, it was still amazing watching you work, man. I gotta say, I was really, I was loving it. I love the part when a grandkid walks up, you're like, "Fuck off," because you just want to say that sometimes. You really do. You do want to say that to the kids, and you're not. You know, you're told that's bad parenting. It's just honesty. I'm just getting them ready. Somebody's got to tell them "fuck off" some point. They may as well hear it from somebody they love first.
Especially when Grandpa's alone getting high.
Yeah.
But that's his alone time.
Right.
Oh, no. It's... What we do for a living, man, and get paid for it, it's incredible.
It's amazing to get paid for it.
Okay, so you ready to go, hon?
Yeah,
All right,
been a
man. Let's
long
get you guys
ride.
out of here. Tommy, I appreciate you taking the time so much. Thank you guys for sticking around and talking with us. And we're really happy to have you for this, our 100th episode. And man, just, like I said, yeah, that's why I wanted to get you guys.
This is Tommy Chong saying congratulations on who?
Drinking buddies.
Drinking buddies. Yeah, I like the drinking buddies. Not smoking buddies. Huh?
Not the smoking buddies.
Well,
no.
we do that too.
We do that too, but yeah, the drinking buddies was a little bit easier to get past the college radio
the
station.
college radio.
Yeah, so
because like I got a brother-in-law. Is he your brother-in-law, Stan?
Yeah.
Yeah. He used to do coke
Oh yeah.
so he could drink more.
It does work, though. It does.
He talks about that in his act. It works.
It works,
It
yeah.
works.
Oh, you're a comedian too.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't talk much today. That's my thing.
I noticed that. Yeah.
I'm
What's your ethnicity?
That's a very long story. I have a mother that was a hooker, so it's like very complicated.
So you could be.
I could be anything. It's whatever you want me to be.
Indian, part Indian. I see.
I wish I knew. I really did. She was white and blonde hair, blue eyes, and then I came out literally the black sheep of the family. I came out darker than everybody else. And so I never questioned it, and then she never told me. And then
half black bastard.
So
that's good. Well, that's cool, man.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
All right.
Thank you
Okay,
guys so
thanks,
much.
man.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to The Middle with Chris Adams. Please subscribe, please comment, please let me know what you thought. You can follow me on Twitter at Comic Chris Adams, Comedian Chris Adams on Facebook, and Comic Chris Adams on Instagram. My website is chrisadamscomedy.net. Please let me know what you think. I thank you so much again for listening. Have a wonderful day.